Please come to order for a regular meeting of Ascension Parish Council, August 2nd, 2018. Please stand for the invocation, be led by Councilman Randy Cluott, and the pledge to be led by Councilman Oliver Joseph.
In the name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Dear Lord, we thank you for this day. Lord, we ask that you continue through this hurricane season to take care of the people of the Gulf South region and Ascension Parish. Lord, we ask special blessings on the Calvert family for the loss of Miss Linda Calvert, the wife of Mr. Calvert that was our DPW fleet director, Mr. Bill Calvert. We ask that you keep your hand on that family. Also, Lord, we ask special blessings for the Humphrey family of Santamore, for the tragic accident that happened yesterday on Stringer Bridge Road, where we lost Miss Jean Humphrey, Miss Harriet Humphrey. Sorry, Lord, Miss Harriet Humphrey, and Mr. Jean Humphrey is hospitalized. We ask that you look down on the Humphrey and the Duplessis family and keep them in your prayers. Last but not least, Lord, we ask that you keep your hand on all our people that protect us, all the emergency folks, all the military folks, and especially our police officers. We ask that you keep them and bring them home safely at night. We ask this in the name of your Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, roll call. I think we have just Councilman Turner, not here tonight. Chair additions, there are no chair additions tonight. Public comment sign-in period. If you'd like to comment on any agenda item, please pick up a card at the podium and return that to Council Secretary Ms. McKee. Tonight we have some guests for a presentation, and we're going to let Councilman Randy Cluott going to introduce these guests to us.
Tonight we have the folks with the Capital Area Law Enforcement Foundation, a nonprofit that work hard to furnish protection, equipment, and whatever it takes for our law enforcement folks. And tonight we have Mr. Pat Anglade. If you can come up with your folks and introduce yourselves. And we want to let everyone know that they have a fundraiser, a banquet and auction at Lamar Dixon on Saturday, October the 25th at 6 p.m. And we would appreciate anyone participating. There's opportunity for donations. There's opportunity for sponsors. And Mr. Anglade, you got the floor, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Cluott. Good afternoon. When you go in somebody's house, you always respect them. That's the way I was taught anyway. So when we began to think about somewhere new where we could go, where we could make some more differences in our foundation and what we do, we thought about coming out to Gonzales and Lamar Dixon and sharing our story with everybody here. So the first thing I did was I went to see Mayor Barney Arsenault, and then I went to see the parish president, and I explained to him what we were doing, and I think it's proper for us to be here today and tell you what we're doing. Since we started this foundation right after July 17, 2016, when we had the horrible events that happened in Baton Rouge that day. And since then, we've raised about $1 million. And we bought bulletproof vests and other equipment for law enforcement agencies, over 40 so far. But we've got a long way to go because, as we know, we owe it to those people to give them the very best protection we can. So we're working harder and harder every day, and everything we get, every penny we collect goes into that equipment. Nobody on this board, nobody associated with this board makes a nickel off of this. This all goes directly into it. But more important than that, probably are the people behind me that had joined into this, and some of y'all may recognize who these people are. Chief Carl Dabadie, as everybody knows, was BRPD chief. And we have Trenisha Jackson. She's the wife of Officer Montreal Jackson, and Mason. Tanya Garafola, who is the wife of Brad Garafola. And then we have Becky Anderson, who's the wife of Sean Anderson, who was killed on... This is why we do this, for them. They came to us when we first started and said, what we want to do is make sure if we can do it at all costs to see that this never happens again. So that's why we are where we are. We put on, I can't remember how many fundraisers, that's all I do now is fundraising, but I can't remember where we're at, but this is when you come to a fundraiser we have and you leave a fundraiser we have, you'll feel better, I promise you. If you don't, I'll give you your money back. It's a wonderful event. We'll have a good time. The people at Lamar Dixon have been just wonderful to us. We've been working through the arrangements, and we hope to have a good time. Carl, anybody want to? Oh, Randy, I forgot Randy's back here. This is my guy back here, Randy Kluwat. He's the one that I started with, and he's helped push me in this direction, so I want to say very much thank you for what you've done. One of y'all say something. Come on.
Thank you for allowing us to be here.
Come up to the microphone, too, if you don't mind.
Thank you for allowing us to be here. I can't preach enough about how important it is to have vests like this, to be able to sustain a high-profile rifle bullet. Unfortunately, they weren't available back in July. However, it's important. This is very important to me, my family, and other families out there. I do not want other families to go what we've had to go through. It's hard. It's hard, and the pain is real. But we have to sit here and we have to move on and continue life because time is not going to stop for us. But I want to make sure that something can be done to prevent this from happening again.
Hi, I just want to thank you all for letting us come here today and spread the mission for CALEF. CALEF was already established when I joined the team, and they were there for me when my husband was shot, and they've been there through the good, the bad, and the ugly for our children and myself. And this organization is something that will be around for a long time. I've never seen men and women work so hard and so dedicated to a cause. It's truly a passion that they have, and it is something that is so important because our law enforcement and all first responders are out there putting their lives on the line, just doing their job. And their families suffer as well for them just doing their jobs. You go to bed with one night with one life, and you wake up the next day with a totally different life that you don't want, strictly because it could be due to lack of equipment and things like that. So I just want to thank you all for giving us this opportunity and hope that we can have a big turnout at our event on August 25th to support the cause and protect our protectors. Thank you.
First of all, I'd like to say thank you for allowing us to come tonight, and this looks completely different from a council meeting in Baton Rouge. But anyway, you know...
That is by design.
I'm going to leave that alone. First of all, being a chief of police and working with budgets and working within budgets and budget constraints, I understand how hard it is to get your police officers and your firemen and your medical personnel, all your first responders, the much needed equipment that they need every day to perform their jobs and do it to the best of their abilities. This equipment is expensive. We understand that, we know that, and that's part of the reason why we formed this organization, was to help these departments who are struggling to make ends meet on a daily basis, and then to be able to give them the equipment that their officers need every day 20 years ago, we didn't need this in law enforcement. We just didn't need bulletproof vests. But today we do, unfortunately. And we need one that combats an assault rifle and not a handgun. So these vests are very expensive, but it is our mission to supply all law enforcement with these vests that need them. So any help that you could give us, we greatly appreciate that. Thank you.
And I just want to add that I really do support this organization because my husband actually had a vest on order. So if this organization would have been going on back then, he would have had his vest when he needed it. So I just say that CALIF is a good organization, and I pray that you all support it.
Everybody pretty much here knows me. I got with Pat. I went to an event in Baton Rouge, and I wanted to bring it to Ascension Parish. We got together, and we're making it happen. We just need y'all to help put the word out for the event on the 25th of August at Lamar Dixon. We have some flyers. Y'all have flyers in your thing. I have tickets for anybody that needs tickets. You can get my phone number from my dad and call me. I'll meet with you, or however, we'll get tickets for you, whatever you need. We just need people to attend the event and help raise money. Thank you.
Thank you. We're gonna let y'all get back to business. I have some brochures, if I could leave them with someone. Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank y'all for your time. We
Chief,
certainly appreciate it.
do you have a website, or do you
Yes,
have a
sir.
phone number? Could you announce that?
Yes, sir. It's CALEF,
Yeah, please.
CALEF.LA. That's our website. And my personal phone number is 225-933-4700. If you got some money, I do not mind you calling me.
Thank you very much for coming.
Y'all come up here to take a picture?
Yes.
Yeah. You're gonna get lost
Stand
in
on
that
somebody's
stair.
shoulders, that's okay.
Go around and get up in the front row. That would well, see your face.
Gosh, I think I can see everybody. Everybody looks happy, and most of you are handsome. That'll be great. Thank you.
Thank y'all.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you coming. Thank you.
Randy?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to expand on what they're doing, and we talked about equipment and stuff. Sergeant Kluwat, Chief Dabity, Pat, all you guys with your experience, and the families of the officers. I remember when Randy started, almost 20 years ago, whatever it was, and had to go out and buy his vest. And we look at that type of vest right now, and it's not as good as the flak jacket when you was rodeo clowning. You know what I mean? These things have evolved. We all know what safety equipment costs. It's very expensive. But I do want to touch on one thing, and this is not a hit to any law enforcement organization in the country, because a lot of times it's strictly based on budget. There's two ways to go in an organization. You either have a mandatory wear, that you wear the vest, or you don't have a HR policy or company policy, department policy that you wear the vest. If you're inquisitive to anybody you know in law enforcement, you would be surprised at the ones that don't have a mandatory wear. And some of them is based on budget. They can't make a rule that they can't enforce and give the people the equipment. And it's just a sad thing. And as they wear those vests and all that equipment, just hunker down, sweating to death, you know, in their job, but it means a lot. And I just encourage all law enforcement folks, you know, you get the private jobs you do, the details and things like that is just, hey, just go out full dress. It's a sad thing that in some places, we got people that are not out there committing crimes that these guys got to defend, but they got people out there that they just want to kill a police officer. And they're mad at the world, whatever. And so the places that don't have mandatory wear, we got some small agencies that's within our Baton Rouge area that don't have it. We've got some bigger agencies that don't have it. And a lot of times it's simply based on budget. And so anything you can do, and I'm going to just go ahead and make a commitment right now. In the name of Sergeant Kluwat, I'm going to go ahead and commit to the sergeant's level. Thank you, sir. Appreciate your service.
Thank you. Thank you, Randy. Okay, Parish President's report, Mr. Matassa.
As all of you know, we have a West Nile case in Ascension Parish, and so Monday or Tuesday I declared a state of emergency so that we can work that department. Most of all, the employees are part-time, but I did this so we can pay them overtime, because I'm going to call them up in a minute, but they've been taxed very heavily with calls since that came out. Tonight, Councilman Dawson and Mr. Lawler asked for mosquito control and recreation to do a little report on their departments, and I'm going to call them up at this time. Okay. David, with mosquito control first.
Good afternoon, Councilman and Lady Councilwoman Cazzo. Gentlemen and Ms. Cazzo, it was brought to my attention by email of Councilman Lawler and Councilman Dawson that it's to my understanding if the funding that goes from animal control and the millage that would be, there's an election in November towards animal control, that the organization takes over animal control. If that election is accepted by the people of Ascension Parish, it's my understanding that the funding of the animal control, which is I think around $400,000, correct, Councilman Bill? That it's possible full council might consider moving that money towards mosquito control. So I was asked by Councilman Lawler and Councilman Dawson to put together a quick package plan what I would do with that additional funding. And like the parish president mentioned, currently we're getting an unprecedented amount of calls from our parish and citizens. There was an outbreak of West Nile case, which was neuroinvasive, which is swelling of the brain. One case, we have two cases. We have one case of West Nile fever. In Louisiana, we have 17 cases right now. We have 9 neuroinvasive, different areas, 2 fevers, and I think 6 aerospermatic, which is like blood donors or whatever, okay? So the numbers are, I mean, it's recorded from Department of Health and Hospitals. The way that works is if a person feels sick and he goes to the hospital and the doctor's office takes blood work or whatever else necessary they need to send to the lab, they find out if it's a positive, then right away they contact the CDC and the individual that contacted the disease to let them know they had West Nile fever or West Nile virus, inflammation or neuroinvasive swelling of the brain. Then the CDC contacts the Department of Health and Hospitals in New Orleans, and then through confidentiality, they get in touch with our program and notify us of the location area, not pinpoint a direct box number or address. That's because of confidentiality. Now, in between that, apparently the media picks up on a few things and it goes from there. However, the individual that picks up the disease can call and report it. That's their privilege and prerogative to do so. But currently, like I said, we had unprecedented calls. 80% was online and technology has taken over. I've been in charge of the department for 18 years. The department is 22 years old. we never had online and all this, okay? So 80% of these over 900 calls in less than 12 days came in online. That's pretty amazing by itself, much less the calls. And of course, it's unprecedented, so we're working overtime with the staff we have, and in this package I put together, this plan, it includes beefing up, basically what we would do is beef up our program from, equipment, spray trucks, ULV machines, which is, when you see a truck going down the street spraying the product, insecticides, it puts out in baffles, and it's in molecules, and it's insecticide going, it's just like aerosol can spraying the street. All the products EPA approved, it's all calibrated equipment. One spray machine estimated around $8,000. A truck around $17,000. The individual, the employee, you put the package together, anywhere between $100 to $200 a night to spray, depending on the territory that he sprays, 40 to 50 miles. So, in front of you tonight, what I'm saying, Councilman, if you review that plan that I put together, what it basically is beefing up our program. The parish is expanding. We all know that. I don't have to tell you about the subdivisions and areas of the parish that's expanding. We're a service to the people. And if the program doesn't expand, well, it's, like I said, we're working overtime right now, but eventually, I'll be coming to you. If we don't get this money from, this dedicated fund that's right now going from animal to this animal shelter, then eventually I'm going to have to come to the council regardless and ask for some type of funding to increase our funds. Because like I said, regardless, the parish is expanding and we're a service to go to the parish, to the people of Ascension Parish. So with that said, if you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer any questions in regard to this plan.
Do we have any questions for Mr. Matassa? Todd Lambert.
Yeah, David, I've looked at your plan, and I've always been a big fan of the mosquito control because they do a great job.
Appreciate it.
And I've always wanted to put more funding there. Whatever it takes, this could be down the road. You need more funding now, just come to the finance department and, ask for, however much more you need. I'm sure this council, agree to move forward with it out of the
I
general
appreciate
fund.
it. Currently, Todd, we
This is very important
multitask.
to everybody. This is,
I agree with you.
health
We
and well-being
multitask. We have a great program. Per capita, nobody touches in Louisiana,
Right.
okay? But when I say multitask, it'd be nice, of course, if the program was run in order of, I have a crew that actually just larvicide ditches, like most programs. Or I have a crew that just sprays. I have a crew. But now, which we have great people, I got to admit, these guys do it all. From answering the phone to go larvicide ditches, whatever.
Right.
And when I say larvicide ditches, it's actually one of the most important things you could do because mosquitoes have to have water to breathe. They cannot breathe without water, So in certain areas of Ascension Parish, you still have a lot of open ditches. And from the open ditch, once it's covered, it goes to a storm drain. Believe me, the mosquitoes are going to find water, that's what I'm saying.
They will.
And then it takes the process of Mother Nature with evaporation. However, the eggs can stay dormant, for over 20 years. We all know that story also. And so it's an ongoing thing. And then, mosquitoes is no longer a nuisance compared to 20 years ago. The grandparents and all were a nuisance. Now we know they carry disease. You take South America, Zika. Okay, Zika is carried by the mosquito, transmitted, and it attacks pregnancies, babies, and it inflames their brains. So,
David, what is your budget right now per year?
987.
987.
Yeah, it's current. And like I said, the parish is expanding, and I just gave you some rough figures on one spray truck by itself. That's just a spray truck.
But don't hesitate if you need out here.
Yeah, I appreciate it. In the program, adult siding is a spray truck. Larviciding is the ditches. Personal request, we go to your personal property, survey it, and spray that property, whatever's necessary we need to do. And in surveillance, which is high profile, which we are with the big guys, with the big parishes, surveillance is a program that we put traps out, identifies the species in our lab, sends the species to LSU to identify what they carry and if they're positive or not. The same week, by Friday morning, LSU gets back to us and says, hey, look, this Dutchtown area, wherever you're at or wherever it might be, is carrying, these mosquitoes carry West Nile virus. How about that? So it's a radar screen, and then we try to go within a quarter-mile radius of any water outlet in that immediate area, plus adult spraying at night, beef it up in that immediate area, knowing before a human or animal case might, come across with West Nile virus. The West Nile virus has an incubation period, anywhere from 0 to 15 days. You could be fishing in Lake Verret in Assumption Parish, come home, chills and fever the next few days. You go to the doctor, they confirm it's a case of West Nile virus or neuroinvasive, which is swelling the brain. They're going to put Mr. Lambert's address where he lives, and that's where it's recorded. So we can't pinpoint would you actually get it in Ascension Parish or your residence. The only other way is basically is you put a trap out, which we do that on that property that you said you might have picked it up. And it's pretty obvious if the mosquitoes come back positive showing West Nile virus on your property and you got a case of that. But to directly pinpoint is basically impossible almost to say for sure because of the incubation period. Any other questions, Councilman?
Councilman Satterley.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, David, for your report. I share your concern and Councilman Lambert's concern about the mosquito control. I guess the people realize, or if they don't, I think it's important to put in the record tonight, it's yet another red-haired orphan stepchild in this parish from the standpoint of not having dedicated funds like recreation, like animal control / CARA. When you talk about their funding and switching, et cetera, even before that, notwithstanding, I would have to concur with Councilman Lambert. If you need to come in front of the Finance Committee or either this full body, cap in hand, to be sure we can continue the excellent level of service that you're providing, I highly recommend that, number one. I have a few questions about it, though, because I'm wondering why you haven't been here before. Looking at your report, it says that your personal property requests have increased by 45%. Let me repeat that. Let's just round off, 50% since 2016. So that's 2 years ago. It also says in the report that you're getting about 4,000 requests per year. I assume that's requests to spray and so forth, which would mean that, kind of fuzzy math, but 2 years ago it was only 2,000. And now with that rather paltry budget of $90-something thousand, how can you double your workload in 2 years with the same amount of money and have not come here, or how are you doing it?
That's a good question. I guess my answer would be we have a great staff. I mean, these guys work big numbers. Like I said, I've been running the program for 18 years, and we never came close of having this type of work to do. And, Councilman Sally, like you said, come to us, and I appreciate that. We just, we try to hold back as long as we could, best we could, and put out, and we have been producing quality work with the people of Ascension Parish. But I agree, it's just about to come to the point where I most probably will have to come to the council and ask for some funding and some help, because we're not dedicated funding, I had mentioned. So with that said, I was maybe kind of consider that we're doing a good job, and we just added a few part-time workers. I have about 20 employees, half is about part-time, and it helps because they don't have the benefits, but they spray people like that, they spray trucks and stuff in Loverside, and they make good employees. But yes, I agree that apparently the way the direction is going is that we're having more and more requests being made, and more subdivisions and territories and storm drains and ditches to spray.
Okay, and thank you, David. You now mentioned it twice, so I feel I'm about to talk about that. I want to be sure people need to understand, I know this council does, that as we grow, and we got all kinds of projections there we could talk about. We could talk about how recently we've been the largest growing parish in all the state, and probably we're still second or third or wherever we rank right now. Tremendous growth. We're studying right now a master plan and been paying an organization, CPEX, close to $500,000 to put that land use plan together for us. And they've already produced some staggering projections on growth and so forth. So, it's the air-filled balloon situation. You can put so much air in it before it's going to pop. And yes, we continue to approve these subdivisions. And just like with animal control and CARA, with more and more people come more and more irresponsible pet owners and more stray animals, and more of a burden on this parish without a dedicated funding, if this tax wasn't to pass, to take care of that. Mosquito control, I view as the same way. We can ill afford to have Zika virus, West Nile, no more than we can with rabies and so forth, or for that matter, wake up tomorrow and find a kid with polio from playing in one of our ditches or one of our impaired water streams because we don't have parish-wide sewer. So with that said, there's always a question with Doc in here somewhere, and here it is. Has there been any talk, or does there need to be talk about getting a dedicated funding source? Like this parish is kind of, council anyway, has kind of told Kara, look, we increased your funding, sort of a reward for the job well done. You're doing a good job. I'd like to always reward my self-excellence as well. But you know what? Don't look for it maybe next year out of the general fund. So let's, at least try to go for a tax. What about a tax for mosquito control? What's your thinking on that?
I don't disagree. I'm always looking forward to a better system. And of course, the program started 1996. It was, I think, it was really very limited, 50, maybe 60 requests a year. I came in 97, and then gradually we started picking up a few trucks. Nobody really, knowledge wasn't even known about mosquito control. The West Nile virus wasn't in. Came to 1999 with the birds in New York City, okay, that's when it really ignited. And from there, we gradually took off on a chart to continue. Then Parish started expanding more and more, like you had mentioned. And at different times and different administrations, of course, the golden deal was a dedicated fund, like you just mentioned. And I was brought to the attention of different administrations, and then gradually we got more funding, but it never was really strongly entertained. I think every department that would consider or imagine if they had one would, of course, love to have a dedicated fund. That would be the way to go.
Well, go ahead. Yeah.
To me, because like you had mentioned earlier, the parish is growing. This type of service that we do, like other departments also have to expand with it to properly, run the program, to entertain the service. I mean, if you don't have enough sprayers to spray the streets, you don't have enough people to lower side. Of course, you're putting the people at jeopardy when it comes down to health issues as they expand, and you don't expand with that type of service. Right. So I agree with that would be a mechanism, of course, of dedicated fund.
Right.
Always agree to that.
Now, you threw a number out in that area, too, relative to the tax that's impending on the December ballot for animal shelter / animal control, or Karen / animal control. Right. And I thought I heard 350 or something. You do realize that's really closer to 700,000. 350 to the shelter, CARA, CEA arm of it, and another 350 to animal control. So if you're seeking all that money from a $90,000 budget to $700,000, that would be quite a shocking arm. Or do I have some numbers wrong here?
Let me explain to you one thing, Doc. Okay. First of all, the big difference between animal and mosquito, we had a ruling years ago from the Attorney General's office that we could use health funds for mosquito, whereas we can't use it for, and O'Neill knows, for animals. So a lot of the animal money comes out of the general fund. Mosquito control comes all out of health, and we watch it, but I mean, as long as we can fuel it to the extent they need, we're all right without going for a tax. But animal control is different, totally different.
Right, I've got that, but I'm more concerned because I'm the guy, like all the rest of us, going to have to sell this to the people if something even happens out of it. Let's just say, for example, if the tax does pass and then this gains movement and so forth, I really need to know what amount of money do you really, that's not in this document, do you really need to take care of the fact that you've doubled your request just in 2 years? And, and thank the good Lord we don't have, but I guess the one case right now of the West Nile, and none, I guess,
that survey is kind of impossible to, I mean, it's whatever is reported, Councilman Sadley, years ago, it's pretty common with horses, I recall that. And I would go to the horse farm or whatever, and a horse would have Tripoli or West Nile and be on the ground. Next day it'd be, can't stand up, next day it's dead. And I would talk to a lot of these people, and you have the vaccination. No, I didn't vaccinate the horse. I don't know a lot about them, but it's pretty expensive to keep. But as those years went by, less and less cases that I know of. I get reports monthly, every other week on my desk from the CDC, and that less cases with horses. I mean, apparently because of the vaccine, apparently.
Right.
From Tripoli and the West Nile.
One of my colleagues at LSU developed that, and it has been a game changer,
That's exactly right.
but we don't have that for
So
people.
when you're saying game changer, then all of a sudden here comes the West Nile, you know, and then all of a sudden here comes Zika, like you said. There's one right now called Rift Valley out of Africa. You can lose some eyesight. It's transmitted by mosquitoes. So the funding part, I never really got put together with the animal, which you mentioned, the 400,000 to 375, that package. But I can put a package together of funding of money that I need, feel to like I said, the parish is increasing and the requests are increasing and the territory we spraying is getting larger and larger also. I would just run it on a conservative basis, and we have a great crew and we're making ends meet. But currently we got hit so hard, we're doing overtime, which is rare, but we're doing overtime right now.
Right.
So, again, when it comes down to those numbers you're talking about, I never really was aware of the 375 to an extent, too. This just came up, and Councilman Lawler sent me this email yesterday. I wasn't sure if we were talking about either the 400 or the 375 or exactly what, so.
That's okay. Well, I'm sure down the line, we're going to explore all this and so forth. But again, I'd like to reiterate what I said, and I think Todd said as well. Don't be bashful.
Yes,
we
sir.
all raised our hands to, look out for the health, safety, and welfare of the people. And certainly this is a health issue, much in the same way things like rabies and so forth can be. A lot of people think that's not possible. Well, if we quit vaccinating the dogs and cats and stuff, I would challenge anybody to watch what happens.
I agree 100%.
So
Councilman Sally.
I thank you.
Okay,
That's
I
all I have,
appreciate
Mr.
the support, Councilman and Council Lady Cazzo. Any other questions,
Go ahead, Councilman Lawler has a question.
Councilman?
Mr. Matassa, thank you for coming, first of all, and thank
Thank
you
you.
for responding to this. A couple things. First of all, y'all are doing a great job. I get compliments all the time from people all over my district. When they call, y'all are there within a day or two, and I know it's overwhelming. I also talked to several of your employees, and they're working hard. They're doing a great job. So
We have great employees, and like I said, to put a felony, you could get in contact with the Department of Agriculture and the Department of Health and Hospitals of Louisiana, and they will tell you that Ascension Parish per capita is the #1 program. But again, I relate it to the employees. We have some super employees.
You
We really do.
So I want the
agree with
public
that.
to
I
understand
appreciate
that. One of the reasons that I asked you to be here today, and BJ's also here, thank him. What we have on the agenda tonight is to put forward a resolution to where we're going to have something on the ballot to fund animal control. And what that's going to do is it's going to free up some money. And one of my concerns is, okay, if we free up some money, where's it going to go? I'd like to see a plan for that money. And I'm just kind of explaining why you're here tonight. That's part of it, because we believe that mosquito control is extremely important. And right now you have a budget of about $970,000. This would increase it to about $1.37 million a year if the millage passes.
Right.
So we're going to put that money to good use. And I think we have a need for it in mosquito, because what I see is at this time of year, football starting, baseball, softball, soccer, all outside. We've got kids outside at this time of year, and as it gets into the fall, that's a prime time for mosquitoes to be out at night. At the same time, our kids are out there, the parents are out there with them, and it's going to continue to grow.
I agree with you. Yeah, actually, I don't know if it's off the wall, what's happening right now with us, but it's all about water driven, okay? So more water, less drainage, more mosquitoes, yada, yada, okay? But to my knowledge, all the years of experience, it's the worst time of the year is in the fall. But this is hit right now in the middle of the summer, like you just said. So if there's a change of cycles and stuff, I don't know. We have about 70 different species in Louisiana. What happens is in the summertime, there's less water, because it's so hot, the index is so hot. So if you got water, it's going to evaporate. They need water to lay the eggs, but the eggs are dormant. So here comes the rain, and you have a hatchery. But here comes the fall, the temperatures go from the index of 105, 110 or whatever, and it goes to the 70s and 75, so less evaporation takes place along these ditches with trees and everything else. So the mosquitoes, plus there's a period right now where they're going to lay the eggs, and there's an incubation period coming too with the fall and the wintertime weather, okay, with species change. That's why in the wintertime when the north wind's blowing, you have less mosquitoes, and they go in hibernation, most of the species. So the summertime, it's too much heat, usually, and not enough mosquitoes, unless you have abnormal weather conditions, like a storm might pop up, a hurricane or whatever. And in the fall, it's the worst time, because they got to get that blood meal real quick. The only ones bite you is a female. The blood is for the protein for the egg to produce. So they have to, the time clock's there, they have to lay the eggs real quick. The wintertime's coming.
So usually all the time, during football is the worst time. But right now, we're right in the middle of it. We're going right into the territory of the fall. Unprecedented, like I said, it continue, I don't know. But I know one thing for sure, and like Dr. Sally said to the diseases, it's amazing how they continue. Zika is unbelievable. It's been on the horizon. It's been in Europe and in different parts of the country since the 40s, to my knowledge, but not in South America, no, and it is. So it's most probably a matter of time before maybe it's here. I travel a lot at airports. It was, if you're flying in those areas, if you're pregnant, they promote not to go there if you're pregnant. No, that's how bad it is in South America, different times of year.
Well, I may look pregnant, but I'm not, trust me.
Yeah, I know, but Zika attacks is crazy, but it attacks pregnancies and inflammation of the brain with babies. Rift Valley attacks in some of your eyesight. So, different species, different areas.
Well, please
Again,
keep
it's
up the
disease,
good work.
like Dr. Sally was saying, and we appreciate y'all's support. And if that doesn't pass, apparently you will see me again, and I'll be with some figures to help our program, and I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you again, Mr. Matassa, and we have, BJ is gonna come up here also, he's next to
Okay,
talk about
Councilman. Thank
recreation. But, good information, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Good evening. Kind of come in and kind of follow up on Mr. Matassa right there, the same thing. The benefits for the item 10 that, that's going to be talked about, big time tonight, goes, beyond the great, deals that it's going to allow for animal control to be able to do and expand and, improve on everything. As Councilman Lawler said, that is going to free up some money. On behalf, as the head of the Recreation Department, we also want to express that, if everything rolls through and, and everything falls in line, because the recreation, of course, is always looking for as much funding as we can get to, a little bit here, a little bit there, whatever helps, because we also don't have any kind of dedicated funding, okay? So, I'm in support, of that item and in all the issues like that Councilman Lawler said. And it's like I said, I've been here for almost a year now, so it's going to be in a few weeks. It'll be a solid year. So I've been through the ins and outs now, all of our parks, and there's pros and cons. So all of our parks and recreation, most of our places are outdated. These parks have been here forever. I really couldn't tell you the date of the last new park that we've really had. We've changed things around. So in this last year, it's been a whirlwind of getting it cleaned up, getting it functional again, updating it, the best that we can, But then I go all throughout the country. I have kids that play ball. We play in Ascension Parish, but we also travel throughout the country. And I see, all the new counties across the country in the South. And even all their ballparks are all multifaceted, they're multi-use. And it's not just team sports. It's, you go to a ballpark and you have all your baseball fields, you have basketball courts, you have nature trails, you have your exercise equipment, tennis, anything you can imagine, they have all that. So, and I get asked all the time, because they know who I am, and I'm sitting there, if I'm just, there's times I'm coaching, so I don't get to talk to a lot, but there are other times where I'm just a fan, and they walk by and they whisper, hey, when's Ascension Parish going to get this? I'm in Youngsville, Louisiana, between Youngsville and Scott, there's like 7 miles difference, and they have 2 facilities that are both less than 4 years old. One's brand new. And these things are full, all their playing surface, their turf. And again, none of these places are strictly team sports. They're all, they would benefit anyone in the parish for anything they'd want to do, And, they asked me, and I'm like, well, I've checked in these places, and this place costs $35 million to build, We have a full roundabout budget this year around $1 million, which is, we got it up to that this year, and we're doing what we can, but now a pro about our outdated parks that I see is, man, there's a lot of, I consider wasted space at a lot of them, and there's so much potential at every single one of them that it's just, little things that we can upgrade and add addition and bring us up, and get us closer, to our surrounding areas and surrounding parishes to what they have, And of course, a little bit more funding here and there, so we have this year was all about cleanup, updating, make sure everything was good and safe, and we had quite a few additions. We've added some fitness parks, so two on the west side and the east side to several of our parks. We have work going on our splash pad, and I don't know if you guys have been, if you, it doesn't matter the time of day. If you drive by Oak Grove at that park right there, it's actually kind of a small park. Nice playground because we have the splash pad there. It is packed, we have a beach volleyball court out there. It's just every day. It's almost, I would think, maximum capacity to the people in there. And so it's let you know that, and these things aren't that big of a, these aren't $35 million projects, okay? So these are projects that with other small funding we can get in there that we probably could expand on. And if that's happening in Oak Grove, then, why not one in Galvez? Why not one in Santa Ma? Why not one here on the west side, and then expand it like that, and get it going like that. And like I said, next year we start looking at some of our bigger projects. We have on the table for, we did an expansion on the Ascension gym where we have phase 2 of that to add a third court to that, because that's another thing to explode. And that's one thing that we are severely lacking parish-wise for basketball is the Ascension gym. That's basically the only course that we actually own. Now we have a little agreement with the school board, so we get to use some of their things, but that's it. So that's 2 courts, and all of our schools are pretty big schools here, east side, west side, and so that's stepping up. So there's a need, for that too. So we're about to take off on that project right there. Sticking on basketball, all of our, I grew up, we played outside. We played on outdoor courts, and it's just kept everyone busy. It's it keeps you healthy, exercise, moving outside, and then it gives you something constructive to do to keep you from, maybe straying and doing stuff you shouldn't do, So, but all of our basketball courts throughout the parish, both sides are lacking big time. And again, that's not a $35 million project. So this, when people ask me about those big parks and places, like, that's a long-term deal, and sometimes you might think it's just a pipe dream at 35. But some of these smaller projects, like I said, just a little bit of funding here and there, expansion on things, that these things can be done, and it's such a benefit, throughout the parish for everyone. Like I said, so we have lined up a few basketball renovations going on. Like I said, the splash pads are so popular. Okay, so we have one on the west side, and it's very popular. And then we have the one at Oak Grove. But it's so popular. There's no doubt that it's, we do have to close them every Monday because they have to be maintained. We have to clean them and make sure they're safe and everything's ready to roll. You don't know how many phone calls we get because it's so popular from the time it's supposed to start till it closes. And some people don't see the sign that's, though it's probably out there, that it's closed on Mondays, and they call and just let you know that. And this is, and again, that's packed too. And these people don't just live in Oak Grove; they live everywhere, So we definitely have a real need to expand on the splash pads, we'd like to look in on the splash pad itself to get them self-contained, where they take care of their own water and it recycles and cleanses and it runs back through, because we're maintaining now, but the non-recycled water bill, it keeps going up each month, So we'd like to look into long terms on that, to maybe fix the 2 over here and have them roll that way, and then anything we build new. It's like, again, spreading it out. We have them this far apart, Oak Grove, west side, so we can get a couple more in the middle. I think we'd be doing a great service, for everyone. Like I said, we started this year on our fitness parks. We added one over here at Lowry. We got one about to go up at 621. We have one in Santa Ma Park. And, these things are popular. Again, it's providing the parish residents, somewhere they can go, be outdoors, provide with a healthy opportunity. Same thing with our kids. These are self-weighted machines, stuff like that. They're safe to use, and, anyone can use them anytime. Like I said, again, just, giving our parish residents, more opportunities for stuff. We've heard about a bunch. We fixed the ballparks, fences, dugouts, stuff like that. What we're really lacking on, I'm going to touch on this year, is playing surfaces. Again, getting turf fields, we're talking about the $35 million project again. So again, that's not really feasible. And then we have so many parks. Where do we start at with that? But natural fields that we have some really nice fields. And they can all be upgraded. So again, those things fall under. Maybe we won't giving them something to do to keep them busy. And kind of keep them out of trouble. But we're looking at a center like this. It's going to be all incoming. It'll have a stage. It'll be available for performing arts. It'll also be a community center, so it'll be revenue generating too. So these are all the ideas that we have. We started expanding our playgrounds. Already we've replaced so many. All of our playgrounds are so outdated, and we expanded all of those. And we've added 3 new ones already, and we plan on with within 3 years to have new ones everywhere, so everything's safe and up to code, and then, and upgraded. And we have some parks, even some newer facilities that don't have playgrounds yet, that we plan on adding to. So, the gist of us talking tonight is, the benefits of the tax, if it's able to go through for animal shelter stuff, is it goes way beyond just the animals. So it's a multi-tiered thing, because that goes up and it frees money. Again, I heard Doc bring up stuff about we're not here trying to put our name in our hat saying, hey, deserve all the money. We're just here saying what we have going and what we're thinking and our plans, and if more money is freed up, and if it comes from this, because it sounds like this is a good path, that's already kind of laid out if everything falls into place, or again, we can have more meetings down the road and see where we can come up with some more funds. But like I said, we're just continuously trying to expand and upgrade everything for recreation that we can for the citizens.
Take questions for Mr. Romano. Mr. Lambert.
Yeah, I played at both fields this year with my granddaughters in Youngsville and both Broussard. Yes, they are $35 million fields, but they got a 1 cent sales tax that the people there voted for.
Right.
We're not going to get that here.
Right.
Our vote, our citizens,
Yep.
We tried the transportation, we tried the fire department, which is very crucial.
Right.
Lamar Dixon for recreation went down, and plus them 2 parks, I think the farmers donated the land, plus they had a lot of sponsorships. And they got it is a heck of a facility.
Right, both of them are. Sure.
Broussard, I was very impressed. It's even better than Youngsville.
Yeah, the St. Julian one, yes.
Yeah, it was awesome, but it takes money.
That's the same response I get when they ask me about that. I'm like, it's $35 million.
Yeah, when you tell them that.
We've asked for the vote, and it's failed a couple times. I was like, and then I've been at Traction in Baton Rouge, and they're like, well, what about this? I'm like, well, there's 11 former Major League Baseball players.
Yeah, that's
how it got built.
Independent operation.
Yeah, and so it's independent. It rivals any college in this state, and I would say it's absolutely the best natural playing surface anywhere. Anywhere. And of course, they put a lot of money into it, and they put a lot of work into it, to maintain it, but that's an achievable thing right there. 35 million, that's going to take a lot, a lot to happen for that to go down, probably impossible. But, turning our natural playing surfaces into something that, because again, most major league stadiums are still natural, so.
And I do want to commend you on the local field, because we did play a couple tournaments here at Stevens, and, the facility was looking good,
I appreciate it.
commend you on the work you're doing.
Councilman Joseph.
Yeah, BJ, look, once again, since you came on board, the parks on this side have been great. The improvements you have made in it, and the community.
2018, modification of transportation impact fee ordinance, approval to amend task order number 5, right-of-way acquisition services to authorize work on all Move Ascension projects under the Master Transportation Development and Implementation Contract. Approval to amend task order number 5, right-of-way acquisition services to reallocate monies to task order number 4, environmental permitting services in order to continue to secure cores permits for all Move Ascension projects under the Master Transportation Development and Implementation Contract. Approval to amend task order number 4, environmental permitting services to authorize work on all Move Ascension projects under the Master Transportation Development and Implementation Contract. Approval of change order number 2, task 2, RJ Daigle 2018 asphalt overlay.
So moved,
Okay.
Second.
No desire to remove any item from the consent agenda. We have a motion by Councilman Todd Lambert, second by Councilman Cagnolati to approve the consent agenda. Any discussion? Any opposition?